Hello, all you scaredy cats and kittens, and welcome to the Two Scaredy Cats podcast, where we talk about all things strange, unusual, and paranormal. We're your hostess with the mostest. I'm Stacy, and Kara isn't with us this week because she is in Las Vegas right now for a concert or something that she's going to. So she's not with us. But that's okay because I'm here. So over the weekend, my husband and I had the opportunity to check out a couple of scary haunted things. We happened to be able to... The first thing we did was we went on a cruise on the Belle of Louisville, which is an old paddle boat that is apparently was here in town because they were having a little festival of all these older, smaller, tall stack type boat. And anyway, so we got to take a cruise on that, a dinner cruise on that, and we found out that apparently there's like a lot of haunted history with the boat. So next time for our Halloween episode in a couple weeks, I will be sharing with you some of the haunted things that happen on the ship, apparently. Also, here in our little town, we have a restaurant that underneath of it apparently has some old tunnels that were used back in the during the Civil War and that for different things. The tunnel actually leads down to the Little Miami River, which connects to which is located not too far away from our little downtown here in the town of Harrison, where I live. And they would use the tunnels that go from the river to the town. They were using them during Prohibition to bring alcohol into the town. They also used them during different battles and stuff during the Civil War. They would actually bring their horses and cannons and stuff from the river up to these tunnels, up through the tunnels, so they could not be detected by the opposite force that they were battling with, whether it was the North or the South or whatever, war was going on at the time or whatever battle was going on. Anyway, these tunnels still exist, and one of them happens to be under a restaurant in town that's a very good restaurant. If you ever have the opportunity to come visit our tiny little town, it's going through this revamp period right now. We have a really cool little bookstore down there that's really cool. It's called Enchanted Novelties. I've been there. It's really neat. I highly suggest you check it out. And we also have like a lot of other little kitschy stores down there. And we also have a coffee house that's really good called the Coffee Peddler. But this restaurant that we have has been down there for many, many years. And it sits on top of the entrance to some of these tunnels. So over the weekend, because it's spooky season, they were hosting a ghost hunt in the downtown area. A lot of the little stores down there were doing this, and the restaurant joined in and were offering tours of their tunnel, which I've been trying to get to see this tunnel for years. So I was very excited that we were able to go and experience that. That was really cool. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little creepy down there. I've got photos to share with you all. I believe I captured an orb in one of the photos, but my husband thinks I'm nuts and telling me that that's not, it's just because of the way you were standing or something. But I will put them on the internet and you guys can tell me what you think. But I'm telling you, there is an orb that appeared, and I've been told that you take 3 pictures in a row whenever you're trying to take photos in a place that's haunted, because usually the ghosts don't show up in the first frame or anything, paranormal doesn't happen in the first frame, that you got to take 3. So anytime now that we go on any of these types of adventures, Kara and I always take 3 photos in succession to make sure that, I'm not missing something or something might not be, happening right away. And in the 3 photos that I took, there is definitely looks like an orb or a circle. There's no other light source for this circle to be there, this white light, and it's moving. It moves around. It's not in the same spot in each photo, but I was in the same spot taking the photos. But anyway, I'll let you all have a look and you all can decide what you see in the photos. And like I said, I will be posting those on the internet here if not today on Friday, then definitely by Saturday they will be up. Before we get started on the story that I have for you guys today, I would like to share, there's been some interesting news in the paranormal world going on this past week. I mean, crazy stuff going on. But the interesting news that I heard was that the Conjuring House, which I don't know, there's a new movie out, Conjuring Last Rites or whatever. I've not seen it yet. I've seen the other two Conjuring movies, but I've not seen this one. But anyway, the Conjuring House, which was at the center of all the stuff, and Ed and Lorraine Warren came and visited and all that. Apparently, they have new ownership now. Apparently, the house is it's a mystery as to who owns the house. So the Conjuring House was in foreclosure, and Jason Hawes from TAPS, or Ghost Hunters, as most of you probably know, was trying to raise the funds to buy this house. Now, he is invested in this house because his daughter actually worked at the house for a while. She was like one of the people that would lead you around on tours and stuff. But her and the current owner, this crazy woman by the name of Jacqueline Nunez, this Jacqueline Nunez just went off the deep end crazy, and was like saying that the kids stole stuff from her and all this crazy stuff. But anyway, so he was trying to raise the funds just this past, I guess it was like last week, to get the money together because they were going to be doing an auction of the house, of the Conjuring House. And he wanted to he was doing a GoFundMe to raise the funds to have the money to go bid on the house. So as it appears, just before the date of this auction, I believe the auction was supposed to take place sometime this week. I'm not sure of the exact date. She became so far behind on paying the bills and stuff, and the house were in foreclosure, and they were all set to have an auction, like I said, this week. But it seems a mystery buyer swept in out of nowhere and purchased the underlying mortgage loan from the bank that had foreclosed on the property. Now, the identity of this new owner has not been made public yet. And the paranormal world right now is going nuts trying to figure out who the new owner is. So stay tuned. We've talked about the Conjuring House before. You can you can find it anywhere you listen to, wherever you download all of our episodes from, you can find it on there. We also talked about all the drama that was going on with Jason Hawes and with this Jacqueline Nunez. When I first told you about, how she had taken over ownership from the couple that used to own the Conjuring House. And people just say that, I guess, the house is making her go crazy. I don't know, but she's been in trouble with the law. She's, trying to file lawsuits against people right and left. She's just really gone off the deep end. So stay tuned. And as soon as we find out, hopefully maybe we'll hear something before Halloween. When we find out who the new owner is, we'll let you all know. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this week's episode. Heading deep into the woods of Ohio this week, to a place where shadows stretch a little too long and something ancient may still be watching from between the trees. Now, that's right, today's story is about the mysterious and chilling legend of the Witch of West Branch State Park. Now, if you're from Northeast Ohio, you might already know where West Branch is. And it's this big, beautiful park, and it's near Ravenna, Ohio, and it's full of hiking trails, fishing spots, and campsites. But the locals whisper that when the sun sets, something else supposedly lurks out there, and a dark presence, which a lot of people say is a witch, will haunt the waters and the woods surrounding near this park. So first off, let's start with the legend itself. So according to local lore, back before the area became West Branch State Park, it was home to a small settlement in the 1800s. And one of the women in the community, some say her name was Abigail, others claim it might have been Mary Ann, lived alone in a small cabin near the river. Now, she was a healer and a midwife and a herbalist. And you probably know where I'm going with this. So in the early pioneer days, if you knew your plants or medicine a little too well, people would start to claim that, oh, she's a witch, she's dabbling in the dark arts, or you know what I mean. She's trying to kill us all and stuff like that. So, as the story goes, a child in the settlement fell ill. We've heard this story before from, there was one we covered over in England, and died under the witch's care. You know, she was a herbalist, so she was mixing up herb to try and help heal the child. And, of course, when the herbs didn't work, because medicine wasn't that great back then, and the child died, everybody accused her, of course, of being a witch. So the townsfolk, looking for someone to blame, decided they were going to blame this lady and accuse her of witchcraft. So in a fit of rage and fear, they dragged her from her home, and they drug her through the woods, and they forced her to lay down, and they placed on top of her a board. And then on top of the board, they ended up putting massive stone slabs on top of her to smother her to death. And because they said because she was a witch, they didn't want her to rise again. So basically they ended up killing this poor woman because they felt it was her fault that the child died. And some people claim, though, that she was tied near a tree near the water, and they either burned her alive or they drowned her in the reservoir that sits close to the property. But nobody can really confirm nor deny that. There's really not a lot of information on the witch. This is all just from stories that have been passed down from the years. So after this happens, after they kill the witch, strange things started happening around the area. They were claiming that livestock would die suddenly. Travelers, whoever traveled on or near the road, or if they were hiking in that part of the woods, would disappear, and people never found them. Campfires sometimes would go without warning, even on calm nights, which had people speculating it was the witch's curse. And then the West Branch Reservoir was created in the 1960s. And the way they made the reservoir was by flooding the valley, and that swallowed up whatever was left of those early settlements. And locals say that that's when her spirit went totally nuts, where she woke up from her deep sleep and decided she was going to wreak havoc on everybody. So now people claim that they will see a lady in white wandering near the water's edge, especially near a place called the Knapp Road Bridge, or she'll sometimes be found on the abandoned parts of the Cable Line Road that disappear into the lake. Campers have reported hearing screams echoing over the water late at night, screams that seem to come from nowhere. Others say they've seen floating lights like lanterns bobbing in the woods, and that their electronics will suddenly die when they approach certain areas. There have also been cases I've read on like Reddit and that, where people will go hunting in that area, and they say that while they're out hunting, they feel like somebody is constantly watching them. They feel like something's out to get them. And a couple of times people have been fishing in the lake there, and they say that they will see like a boat with a dark figure on it. And so people don't usually go fishing anymore late at night in that area or near that body of water for fear that they'll come in contact with the witch. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the encounters that people have had, especially some of the more modern ones that have been reported at West Branch State Park. So one of the most famous stories comes from a group of ghost hunters that had visited the park in the early 2000s. They were doing an overnight investigation when one of their members wandered off the trail to take some night photos near the waterline. He came back pale as a sheet, shaking, and refused to talk about what he saw. When they checked his camera later, one of the photos showed what looked like a woman standing knee-deep in the water, dressed in some kind of old-fashioned clothing, and just like standing there in the water, late at night, which was really creepy. But the really weird part is there were no footprints leading to her or from her. Another camper told a story on Reddit a few years back that they woke up at 3 a.m. to the sound of whispering outside of their tent. He assumed it was, other campers. When you're camping, people, are making noise at night, not as loudly as during the day, but, people make noise. Until he realized that the whispers were coming from both sides of his tent. So, and he said it sounded like it was circling around him. When he shined his flashlight outside, though, there was nothing, no one there. And his dog would keep growling at the water line with the hackles on him raised. There's also been some reports from the rangers that frequent the area to check on things. They have quietly admitted that they will avoid patrolling certain areas of the park, especially at night, especially near what they call the old campground loop, where there have been tons of reports of a shadow figure. One even said that he found an old stone marker deep in the woods, carved with symbols he didn't recognize. But when he went back to show another ranger the next day, the marker was gone. So what could really be going on out there? I mean, there's all kinds of things. Your imagination, when you're alone in the woods at night, your imagination plays tricks on you a lot. You hear noises and your mind goes to, the deepest, darkest places you could possibly think of. Skeptics say that a lot of the strange sounds and lights can be explained by the lake's geography. They claim that sound carries weirdly over the water. That is true. I've camped a lot in my life, and we've been near bodies of water. And yes, when you're camping near water, what could be a bird making a bird caw noise or whatever does sound totally different when it comes across the lake or the body of water. They also said that mist can reflect headlights or flashlights to create glowing orbs. Although I don't know how many people are driving in the middle of the lake that would create some of the orbs that people claim they saw. They also said that the reservoir also has an underground currents that can cause eerie bubbling or sudden chills when you're near the shore. But paranormal believers argue that the energy of the flooded town beneath the lake might be amplifying the spiritual activity. The idea is that when the land with tragedy or violent death is disturbed, like when it's flooded to create a man-made lake, it stirs up whatever residual energy was already there. Kind of like when you open up a sealed tomb. So if you believe the lore, Abigail's spirit might still be tethered to that area, angry, restless, and unable to move on. Now, I've got a listener story here for you guys. This one comes from somebody by the name of Samantha, who camped at West Branch with her friends just last fall. She says, "We were camping on one of the trails near the water and around midnight. We started hearing this humming sound, like a woman singing a lullaby. At first, I thought maybe somebody else at the campground had a radio on, but it kept getting louder and closer. When I got out of the tent, I swear I saw a woman standing by the trees in a long dress, like something from the 1800s, but when I blinked, she was gone. The next morning, we found small charcoal handprints on the side of our cooler. None of us had touched charcoal that night. Creepy, huh? If any of you listening have had any weird experiences at West Branch or any other haunted places, please send them in and email us. We'd love to hear from you." So, whether she was a misunderstood healer or a vengeful spirit still haunting her resting place, the Witch of West Branch remains one of Ohio's eeriest legends. Next time you're camping there, and the mist rolls in off the lake, listen closely. You might hear her whispering through the woods, or maybe she's humming, or maybe she's just checking up and watching to see what you're doing, staring at you from the tree line. So, that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for hanging out with me. It's been fun. We'll have another episode in 2 weeks, which will be releasing on Halloween, actually. So if you enjoyed the story today, and please don't forget to follow us wherever you get your podcast, and make sure to leave a review because it really does help our show get discovered. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at the Two Scaredy Cats podcast. Until next time, remember, curiosity didn't kill these two scaredy cats.